Hello, my name is Becky Barnes. I'm the Director of Articulation, Transfer, and Prior Learning at Cuyahoga Community College. I've been in higher education for over 35 years, yes, probably longer than you've been alive. I spent 30 years at a four-year institution, and I purposely came to a two-year institution. I worked very much student-facing previously, a lot in enrollment management and advising, and when you had so many students that were increasing their debt much higher than what they needed to, I knew that a community college, since I worked a lot with transfer students at the four-year school, that a two-year school is where I needed to be, because I really feel that's where students, a lot of students should be starting their college education. We all know that community colleges have a variety of associate degrees, I think it's really important to know the difference between those. The applied degrees are programs or degrees that are set up for students for workforce, so that students that are getting trained to go into the workforce in their community. Now the transfer is such a huge part of students, and from the state's perspective and also nationally, having students go to a community college, we need to focus a little bit more on the transfer of credit to four-year institutions. So now there's the Associate of Arts degrees and Associate of Science degrees that are used in transfer, because they are more easily transferred, because they're taking more courses in the general education area, less courses in the content area of a particular program. So it's much more suited for transfer. Community colleges have a lot of opportunities for students that maybe did not have the opportunity in high school, or didn't have the educational background needed for a particular career or program. So coming to a community college, students will often see, that they do have potential to go on to complete a degree and move on to a bachelor's degree, because we can offer the coursework they need to get them to where they need to go. So I think that's very important, and a great mission for community colleges of what they're trying to do. We do a lot with working with four-year schools at community colleges, once again, because it's such a huge focus. It's part of Tri-C's mission statement, the university transfer. So we're looking at bilateral agreements, and those are articulation agreements between two schools, a two and a four-year school, that we're putting transfer pathways together for particular majors. So they're taking the exact work they need here to transfer there. It's very specific to those two institutions, and we can set them up which works best for all. We also set up programs for articulation agreements that might be for our honor students, students that are doing a dual admission type program, so they're admitted at both schools at the same time. So there are a variety of different types. The state now has Ohio Guaranteed Transfer Pathways, which have been a focus for the state for the past year. So we want to make sure students have opportunities, because we know statistics will show us that nationally 64% of the students that earn an associate degree are going to enroll in a four-year institution. We have to look at the information as far as graduation requirements and students that are earning degrees, because that's a big part of funding, as we know, for state institutions. So students that are earning a degree in 6 years, the associate degree, 48% of them are going to graduate with a bachelor's degree. If they did not earn their associate degree, we're looking at about 35% of the students. So there is a difference if they complete a degree. But community college students aren't normal. They don't, as far as what four-year schools are. Most four-year students are there to complete. We have many, many part-time students, so we have to look at the data for 10 years. Significantly higher. For students that receive an associate degree, in 10 years, 72% of those are going to have a bachelor's degree, compared to 56% of students that did not earn an associate degree and completion of a degree at the bachelor's level. And we also know for the state, they give us a lot of data, and 52% of the students that stay in their same region are going to graduate in the state of Ohio if they stay and transfer to school in the same region, compared to 24%. So a huge difference between graduation rates, whether they stay in their region or not. when I'm looking at information and some of the statistics I'm showing you, you want to look at the Ohio Clearinghouse, you want to look at the Ohio Department of Higher Education website, and I think the use of the transfer playbook, which is part of the Community College Research Center information, would be quite helpful if you wanted to look. Working at a two-year school is very meaningful to me. Like I said, after spending 30 years of four-year, great experience there, but this is very meaningful work. When we're looking at Kent State specifically, we want to put these agreements together because we know we may be operating with different parameters for students. For instance, we say we'd like to see if there can be scholarships offered for students, or maybe they're by the completing our Associate of Arts degree, they do not have to do any of the general education requirements, which some schools have very specific things that they want students to take, cultural diversity, that type of thing. So in these agreements that we do, mostly the bilaterals, we're seeing if we can put some different things in there for students. So they would be eligible for scholarships. They would have the opportunity to not have to do any further general education requirements at the lower level once they transfer to the four-year institution. So for Kent State, in the past year, we've put together 26 different articulation agreement transfer pathways in 1 year, which is, as if I do say so myself, a lot of great work in a very short period of time. So the two institutions were very serious about working together. Tri-C itself, we have over 170 agreements with other schools, and we're looking with the state to come up with about 50 of these guaranteed transfer pathways. So if we're looking at students at Kent State, if these students are following these agreements we just spent all this time working on, we know that if the students do 2 years here and then transfer to Kent State and finish in 2 years, they're going to be saving over $16,000 for their college education by doing these and following these transfer pathways we're putting together. So obviously that's very significant for students in saving. When we're talking about various ways that students are getting credit through the state of Ohio, which is all a part of state law, we're looking at students that are doing the Ohio Transfer Module courses, which are considered OTM, which are the general education requirements. We have TAG courses, which are the transfer assurance guides, which are courses that would be major related. So it'd be in their first 2 years typically if they did a four-year education. Then we're looking at articulated credit, which is credit, for instance, we have what are called the Career Technical Assurance Guides or CTAGs, and that is credit that is articulated from what they would have taken in high school, and it articulates to college level work. We have military credit, which are MTAGs, which we're looking at the different types of things they might have done through the military and how that would be articulated into college level work as well. We have a lot of students that are doing CCP work, all going back to students saving $81.8 million in a year. I want to talk a little bit more about the Ohio Guaranteed Transfer Pathway since this is kind of new and I've mentioned it before. These are any student that goes to a 2-year public institution are going to be taking courses in the same areas that have been approved through the state to receive credit. So then, once the students are completed here and receive their associate degree, they're going to transfer to a 4-year, and those 4-year public institutions are going to accept that credit, and then they're going to have exactly what the student has to do to complete. So if we've used our Associate of Arts degree for business, there's certain courses at the 2-year level they're going to be taking, and then it's going to show how that student would complete at each of the public institutions that business degree at that institution. So there's completion at both institutions. The applicability of credit is already written in, and those courses are all going to work towards that student finishing. They hope to have 50 of these different Ohio Guaranteed Transfer Pathways in the near future for students to take advantage of. So whether it's a state mandated articulation or a bilateral agreement between two institutions, they are crucial for students as they move through, so they're not taking courses or credit is not applying as it should once they transfer. So when you're committed to transfer, there's a lot of things you want to have for a student. You want them to see the possibilities that they might not have seen before. You want them to make an academic plan. You want to make sure they understand the importance of achieving good grades. And it would demonstrate that they need to really plan ahead. We want to make sure they're moving through as quickly as they can based on what they can do, and that doing it in a timely manner is very much in their best interest. At Tri-C, we have transfer centers at each of our locations. So we have 4 transfer centers that are going to work with our students. Almost every school is going to have some kind of office that's going to assist students with transfer. Here at our transfer centers are going to work very closely with students. They're going to make sure they've met with a counselor, which are our advising system here, to get their academic plan. They're going to work then with the transfer centers to make that connection to the four-year institution, to help them plan for their transfer. So they would be meeting with students to look at what programs they might have an interest in, a specific school they might have an interest in, how they can assist that student with making connections to an actual person at that four-year institution, doing applications, making sure that they know that what deadlines there might be for financial aid, what deadlines there might be for getting their application in on time. So they're really a great resource to know about what students need to do. If there's no articulation agreement, they're going to help that student make a connection to that other four-year institution to make sure that they have the information that they need as far as how they need to go about transferring. But applying and helping the financial aid is a big thing that they do. We provide opportunities for four-year institutions to come in so they can meet one-on-one with students. We also have opportunities for them to come in for transfer fairs and have an opportunity for them to come in for 4 years to come in for table visits, so students have a lot of opportunity there. We do a transfer program each year that talks a great deal about the types of things that students need to do to help plan. So at Tri-C, we're committed to transfer. We want to make sure that our students have all the opportunities that they can, and that it's going to be as seamless as possible.